What's the good word? It's your boy DKB here. So, Zach Wilson, we know about the trade rumors and all of that. He's coming off an amazing game against the Texans. Definitely his best performance of the season, right next to the Chiefs game. With that said, though, again, I've raised this question before. Can Zach Wilson do anything to work his way back into the Jets' future plans at the quarterback position, right? And it's still set up to still work out fine. It just won't be the, cheap contract that we were hoping for with Zach Wilson still being a rookie. But nonetheless, with the premise thinking that, this is, a rare game for him, and we go back to seeing maybe more of the norm Zach Wilson. Not to be a pessimist or anything, but in general, I mean, if you err on the side of history, this is not a consistent average performance for Zach Wilson. Now, again, if he works his way back in, I'm not opposed to any of it, but assuming that we do decide to just part ways and figure out a new plan moving forward, there are 5 teams that seem like they would be good fits. And the premise for this conversation is essentially that Zach Wilson would either have an opportunity to challenge for a starting spot, or he would at least be a serious contender to be a primary backup quarterback. Certain situations where he may be a bridge quarterback, different things of that nature, right? I know we're looking at a lot of backups playing in the league this year, which is a crazy anomaly, but overall there really aren't any just wide open starting spots available, especially considering the draft class is coming up. So let's take a look at some of the top 5 teams here. Kicking things off, we have the Steelers. Now, you can argue the merits of should you trade to an AFC team. It's already a very deep conference, lots of struggles all over the place, but nonetheless, the Steelers under Mike Tomlin are in unfamiliar territory, right? I believe he was just coming off of his first season with a losing record since becoming a head coach for them, and Kenny Pickett has looked like a bust for them, right? I won't say that you can argue who's been worse between Kenny Pickett and Zach Wilson, because Zach Wilson has the clear distinction in that particular battle, but it's definitely safe to say that Kenny Pickett has also looked like one of the worst recent quarterback picks of the last 5 years. And I think I seen the stat too that the Steelers were like one of the first teams to lose back to back to a 2-10 team, which is absolutely nuts. But nonetheless, this situation, Mike Tomlin, excellent head coach. They're going to revisit their offensive coordinator decisions over the offseason and figure out what they want to do. But with their most recent offensive coordinator change, you have seen a lot better performances out of their offense. So maybe they look to another high-end, high-upside quarterback and a guy like Zach Wilson to go out there and either challenge for a starting spot. This could also be a situation where they look to improve from a guy like Mitchell Trubisky when you want to talk about upgrading a backup quarterback for them. So could work out. Again, I didn't want to dive too much into the particulars here when it comes to finances and cap space and all that kind of stuff, but definitely a suitable option. And if there's any quarterback, gurus of a kind, or a guy that can build a system around a certain, player, I think that would be Mike Tomlin. I think you're looking at a few other guys, and one of them will come up on the list here soon, so I'll save the conversation for that. The next team would be the Saints. Now, they could be looking to move on from Jameis Winston, right? He's going to be a free agent quarterback this year. You also take a look at the Derek Carr situation, which, interestingly enough, there was definitely a strong contingency of, New York Jets fans that wanted Derek Carr over Aaron Rodgers just to avoid that whole saga, and we thought that we might be able to get a better jump on free agency options this year, right? You talk about missing out on Orlando Brown Jr., because we didn't have Rodgers in place, and I'm sure there's a few other moves that maybe come to light that could have helped us out. But luckily, Derek Carr has also looked like a terrible option in terms of a pickup this year, right? That Saints offense is all over the place. So another situation for Zach Wilson where he could go there, potentially challenge Derek Carr, although from a contractual standpoint, Derek Carr is going to have to be the clear starter at least for another year. But potentially Zach Wilson can go there and be the long-term answer. If you Want to talk about still sitting and having a red shirt year for yourself if Zach Wilson doesn't quite think that he's a starter in this league per se, but maybe wants to challenge for a spot. This could be perfect for him. And you take a look at the weapons that they have over there. Chris Olave, Michael Thomas. You still have Alvin Kamara over there. Taysom Hill as an interesting gadget quarterback option and may be able to impart some wisdom into Zach. And they actually have a reasonably solid setup for Zach Wilson to succeed. Taking a look at our third team, the Los Angeles Rams. So, Matthew Stafford, he's going into the Hall of Fame. He's been struggling with injuries again, though, in the last couple of years with the Rams. You're also talking about him hitting 40 plus, in terms of his age. And you need to have at least some kind of plan for life beyond Matthew Stafford, right? Team habitually has, in recent years, invested heavily in going all in for rings. They were able to secure one, but, there's payback on the backside. So this is one of those pay low, hopefully sell high options with Zach Wilson potentially coming in and again, maybe being a long-term answer for them. You take a look at this and it's probably comparable to Baker Mayfield, right? They bring him in essentially on an approve-it deal, maybe in an audition type situation. In worst case scenario, you're taking a look at a guy that maybe can be your bridge quarterback, right? You like somebody that's a little bit more stable and whatnot, but you'd assume that Zach Wilson would at least be able to beat out a rookie, at least during the early portions of the year, right? So I don't know. Anything's possible, but you pair him back up with Michael LaFleur, which would also be interesting. Pair him with Sean McVay and his brilliance, and maybe you can finally get some great return on value with Zach Wilson. Vikings, our fourth team. Excuse me. One of the more volatile quarterback situations around the league, right? You have Kirk Cousins. He was in the final year of his deal. Major Achilles injury. You trade for Josh Dobbs. He's going to be finishing out his contract this year as well. So what is the plan for the Vikings moving forward? Do you trust in Josh Dobbs as essentially your bridge quarterback? Do you want to bring a Kirk Cousins back, but it's probably likely that you move on? I do know the general manager has made some comments about everything being on the table with Kirk Cousins, though, and even prior to the injury, there was conversations about trying to work out maybe a longer deal. So nonetheless, that situation is up in the air, and that could be a perfect situation for Zach Wilson to slide in. Nobody is 100% set in stone about the future of that franchise at the quarterback position. That means Zach Wilson has a clear path to being a starter, at least challenging for a starting spot, and at least being a strong consideration for the primary backup, which is probably the best situation that he's going to find around the league in terms of getting comfortable and being able to have a long-term extension built out at some point for him if things work out well. Also, it doesn't hurt that you're pairing yourself up with a guy like Justin Jefferson, and is that where TJ Hawkinson went? Yeah, I'm pretty sure. So they also have some extra elite pieces over there realistically for him to feel good about. Solid offensive line, plenty of opportunities continue to add to that. So pretty solid situation again. And then finally, the Chiefs. This is the situation that, if you're Zach Wilson, I would imagine you could hope you get placed into, right? The major headline here would be that he's definitely not going to be a starter, right? Mahomes being injured is the only way you're seeing the field if you're Zach Wilson. But if you take a step back, if you're Zach Wilson and you say, take football out of the conversation here, right? I'm a grown man. I'm doing the job. I haven't been great in my career. I have the opportunity to go to one of the premier head coaches in the league, play callers and developer of not only systems, but players as well. And, you may not really see the field ever, but this is your perfect chance to go out there and really invest in your talent and your development as a player, right? for all of the comparisons that we got coming out of the draft of Zach Wilson being a Mahomes-like talent, if anybody can capture and figure out a way to bottle that up and strike lightning, right, it would be Andy Reid. You already have Mahomes as the literal embodiment of what you hope you can become as a player in front of you to help kind of turn into a mentor. And it works for them as well. You improve the backup quarterback situation, but this would primarily be the smartest move for Zach Wilson if he's not dead set on being a starter and really just wants to make sure that he can find a way to flourish in this league. And I think it would be a win-win, to be honest, for both sides. The Chiefs, they ideally get a improved backup quarterback that realistically they can keep everything in their system in place. Zach Wilson can essentially do everything that Mahomes can on paper, and you find a way to, get him developed, work him out. Worst case scenario, they flip him later on for some great picks after some preseason performances, maybe some spot starts, right, if they reach the playoffs early, and early bye week isn't in the cards for them. So I don't know. Ultimately, let me know what you guys think. Also, from a trade perspective, what would you guys consider a appropriate trade for Zach Wilson? I heard Gunny mention for him compensation would be nothing less than a 4th or 5th round pick. I don't particularly have any, there's no floor for me in terms of picks. Somebody offered up a day 3 7th right now, I would say take it, because right now you're taking a look at cutting him essentially or keeping him just for the sake of him being on a cheap contract. But nonetheless, let me know what you guys think. Is there a better team as well that wasn't mentioned? And I'll catch you guys again. Peace.